Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Holly Randall Unfiltered. Art model turned adult film star Nicole Vaunt has lived a life as bold and uncensored as the images she creates. Nicole says she's explored her body and sexuality her entire adult life, viewing her adult entertainment career as a natural extension of that curiosity and experimentation. From posing completely naked on icebergs to attending space camp twice, her adventures are as eclectic as her resume. In this episode, we'll delve into how Nicole turns desire into art, the wild stories behind her travels and shoots, and what she's learned from a career that spans fine art nudes to hardcore. Welcome, Nicole.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. First of all, I feel like I would be remiss to not mention the Shrek sweater.
Yes. I don't know why he's yellow, but this is my off-brand Shrek sweater that I love, and I was so glad to have a reason to wear it because it does not get enough attention.
Are you like a massive fan of Shrek? Where did that come from?
I do love Shrek, but I actually found this at a Buffalo Exchange in Santa Monica when I was there for my birthday a few years ago and just thought it was really cute. And I have had so many people comment on it, and I really thought that it just needed more screen time and more attention because Shrek is amazing.
For some reason, that makes me think of like Halloween.
Oh.
So there's a Shrek filter that somebody used on me when I was shooting for OnlyFans, and it was very realistic looking. I actually just remember it's on my phone somewhere.
Did it make you want to be green?
No, not at all. I was very, very happy I was not green. But it was a very good filter. But it was kind of disturbing because I was also naked, so I was like a little bit weird.
All right.
But
yeah.
Speaking of, since Halloween's coming up, just like before we get into all like the sex stuff, are you dressing up for Halloween?
I am dressing up for Halloween. I have really gotten into cosplay this year. And so I have made, over the past few months, a ton of different costumes. So I definitely have LeBlanc from League of Legends that I'm really excited about. I just did an Yzma from Emperor's New Groove look, which I'm really excited about. And I also did Natalie Portman's character from the movie Closer when she's in the strip club. And I haven't decided which one of those I'm going to use for actual Halloween, but it's Halloween all month. I'm going to wear them all month.
I have no idea who any of these people are.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Research team, let's go. In the comments, say who your favorite character is. You've really never seen The Emperor's New Groove?
No.
You should watch it. It is so funny.
What is it?
It's an animated movie from the early 2000s, I want
Marsha just had to like stick her head out to give me a dirty look about that.
How can you not know it? It's such a great movie.
I thought it's a cartoon, right?
It is a cartoon. It's an animated movie, and it's about, I don't know if it's like Incan, Aztec, or Mayan, but it's about an emperor who is kind of a problem, and he goes on some crazy hijinks because of his advisor, Yzma, who is voiced by Eartha Kitt, which she is such an amazing voice and amazing person. And it is so funny. The characters are incredible. The lines are incredible. It's an amazing, almost, there's some slapstick elements about it, but it also has a lot of heart. It's learning to be a good person, which is something we could all use more of.
I have a 4-year-old. How come I've not seen it?
Watch it with your 4-year-old and get back to me. That is your homework for next time.
Okay, so do you want to hear, because I have a 4-year-old, do you want to hear who I'm going to be for
I'm guessing
Halloween?
It's someone from Frozen.
No, that was 2 years ago.
Okay.
And actually, I didn't, did I? Yes, no, I did dress up for that. I got a very intricate, expensive costume for that.
Oh.
Frozen was 2 years ago. I was Anna.
Okay. So that's old news.
Yes, that was 2 years ago. She's over Frozen.
Okay,
She's
yes.
too old for
You're
Frozen.
right. 4 years is 2 years. Too old for it.
I'm Fleur de la Cour from Harry Potter.
Oh, that's a beautiful costume.
I know.
The little hat.
Yeah, I haven't gotten
chic.
it. I haven't gotten it yet. I really hope it gets here. And I hope it fits me.
Oh, that's always the thing.
Yeah, I had to order it from, I think, like Korea.
Okay.
And because of the sizing, I had to order an XXL because of my boobs and my butt.
Oh no, your boobs are too big.
I know. It was like literally not an XL, an XXL.
Wow.
I know. So I'm obviously going to have to like take it in too.
Definitely.
But yeah. So anyways.
It's hard to be so hot, you know.
Oh God, I know.
It's a really struggle for you.
I'll post it if it looks halfway decent.
Great.
If it doesn't, then I won't. What do you normally do on Halloween? Do you like go to parties? Do you hand out candy? Do you go trick-or-treating?
I live in a really remote part of the city that I live in, and so there are no trick-or-treaters coming down my road.
No one
at
comes
all.
to me either.
No one can find me.
Yep,
It's honestly ideal 99.9% of the time. For Halloween, I'm not a huge spooky person. I like spooky stuff, but I don't do scary movies. I don't do anything like that. But I do love a costume. So usually I'll be with my best friend who lives here, and we'll go out to like some immersive haunted theater was really cool that we did last year. Sort of those sorts of kinds of things. I'm a theater nerd, so I love to go. I love seeing theater. I love seeing immersive stuff. And I think we might walk around and see all the houses that are decorated for Halloween, because I know there's some neighborhoods in LA that go all out, and I would love to see that.
Yeah, there are definitely some that are like, if you don't decorate your house, it's there was somebody who bought a house in one of those neighborhoods, and literally like the decorations came with the house, I think.
Oh.
Like the owners left
that's
the
kinda
decorations
nice.
with the house.
Then you don't have to pay for them.
Yeah. Maybe it was part of the deal.
It's part of the HOA. There's a Halloween section.
Seriously. HOAs out here be crazy.
Are they?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad I don't have one. It sounds stressful.
All right. Let's get to the thing that people are probably here for.
The nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty. So let's talk about how you got started in the adult industry.
Getting into the adult industry was kind of just a natural progression of all the things that I have been doing for the past 15 years. I started out as like a nude model, and I was always interested in erotic or explicit content. And I've been doing that kind of work on my own, freelance or for artistic projects, for a really long time. And then last year, I just passed my 1-year porniversary, but last year I was interested in getting into it. I felt like I was in the right place physically, emotionally, mentally to deal with the industry. And I reached out to my friend Casey Calvert, who is so amazing. She's so knowledgeable about everything. And I just asked her a bunch of questions because I didn't actually know what the lifestyle was like. I know how to have sex. I know how to have sex on camera, but I didn't know what else was required. And I wanted to make sure that they were things that I could do. So I wanted to ask about what times are things usually happening? Do I need to be up by certain hours? Like, do I need to be in LA or do I fly down for things? And so she answered a bunch of my questions. And at the end, she very kindly was like, I will put you in touch with my agent, with Mark Spiegler. And I've known about Mark tangentially for a long time. I read Asa Akira's memoirs, which were awesome, and she mentions him in there. And so I knew about him, and I knew about his status in the industry. And so I got in touch with him. He asked me a bunch of questions, and then he was like, next time you're in LA, if you want to have a meeting, we can do that. And I literally looked to see how many miles I had on my account. This was on a Friday. I flew down on a Monday, met with him on Tuesday, and it went really well. We talked about a bunch of different stuff. I met George, and he wound up taking me on a go-see to Vixen, and that went really well. And so from there, it kind of just started snowballing, and I was coming down the next month to start doing scenes.
Wow. So first of all, having someone like Casey Calvert as an ally is amazing. She's literally one of my favorite people in the industry. I love her so much, and a wealth of information, and so intelligent and so experienced. So that's what a great introduction. You said that you were in the right place, like mentally. So what was that? What did that mean to you? Because I feel like a lot of people get into the industry, not a lot of people. I don't want to say a lot of people, but I do know people who get into the industry and they're not ready. And then they regret it later, or they wish they had waited. So what did that mean to you, being like ready for it?
Well, first of all, I was already on the West Coast, where for most of my life I lived on the East Coast. I'm from the East Coast. And getting into porn wasn't really an option because so much stuff is in LA. And so that was just never really a tangible thing to me. And I think also just I started doing porn a lot later than a lot of people. I really waited, I felt like, till I knew myself and my boundaries really well. I knew what I was interested in. I knew that I wanted to do this, and I wasn't doing it out of a sense of something that I needed, but something that I wanted to do. And that's a very privileged place to be in, but I feel really grateful that I was able to make that choice.
And you thought about, obviously, like the consequences and everything that would come with it as well.
I had already been naked on the internet for over a decade.
Yeah.
So really doing porn, there is a difference between nude modeling and porn, but to the front ladies at church, the little church ladies in the front row, there's not really a difference to them between showing your titties on the internet and sucking dick on the internet.
That's true.
So they were going to be anti what I was doing regardless.
Yeah.
So I had already accepted that and thought about that. So I wasn't coming in without that knowledge.
So tell me about your first scene. What was the first job that you got booked on?
So the first scene that I did, it was for Team Skeet, and the very first one was actually a Halloween-based scene, which was very fun, and lots of props and silliness, which is something that I love. I love incorporating humor into porn, especially. I just think that it's nice to have that levity. And I shot that scene, and then I actually had 3 other scenes booked with Team Skeet that week. And so I wound up doing 4 total scenes in that week-long span. And they were all really great. Like the talent I was using was pretty nice, and the videographer, photographer was really nice. Makeup was really sweet. So it was honestly very easy for me. There are a couple things looking back that I'm like, that probably was something that I should have thought a little bit more about. But what's hard about this industry is, even though I was very prepared, there are things that you just can't know until you're in it.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I know those things, I look back on it and I'm like, I would have done a couple things differently, but I don't regret it. I had a really good time, and I'm glad to keep going with it.
Can you say what those things are that you would have done differently?
I don't really want to dig into that kind of stuff. I think it's just knowing what standards are in porn. And I was not as aware of what behaviors are acceptable and not acceptable. And now that I was more knowledgeable, I was like, there were some things that happened that aren't as normal as I thought they were. And that's just something that you kind of have to learn. And it's something that if I knew someone who was going into porn, I would make sure I told them, because I wasn't told it.
So along those lines, if there's, someone watching, a girl that's looking to get into porn, what advice would you give them? Is there anything in particular that you think that they should really think about before they get into porn, things that they should look into?
If you're going to get into porn, I think it is really important that you know your boundaries ahead of time. Know what you're willing to do, what you're not willing to do. It's really easy to get swept up in things, wrapped up in the entire experience, and it's just good to have a really strong sense of self and sense of boundaries going into this job. And I would say that for any gender. You just have to know enough of yourself and be self-possessed enough that you can stand up for yourself, advocate for yourself. Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself. I would say that's a huge part of it. If there's something that you don't like or don't want to do, push back. You can do it in a way that's not going to prevent you from getting work, and it will help preserve your mind and your spirit.
I'm actually curious because, I stopped directing 2.5 years ago. And when I at the end of my directing, I was only shooting for Alu brands, so Twisties and Brazzers, and they always have talent assistants on set, and they always have boundary checklists. Do all of the brands do the same thing? Do they follow the same guideline, or is it just mixed?
There's usually, I'm trying to think. I think at this point in porn, and again, I've only been in the mainstream for about a year, so I'm not the most knowledgeable person. But I think for the most part, most companies at this point have, at the very least, a check-in that you're doing beforehand. Consent is talked about, things you want to do, don't want to do. And some companies will send you an email afterwards asking about it, because the other hard part is that, especially if you just came or had a really intense experience, you're not necessarily in your full mind. And maybe afterwards you realize that there was something that I didn't like, or you've just thought about it more and you're like, oh, this did make me a little uncomfortable and I didn't realize right afterwards. And so some companies will email you afterwards, and that's nice to be able to give feedback where it's not in front of the person that you just performed with or performed for.
Yeah, that's always like, and I think a lot of times, especially if people don't have like a ton of sexual experience when they come into the industry, they may not know what they like and they don't like until they do it.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they don't do it for the first time until they're in a scene. And so it's like they learn about themselves during that process.
Yeah, and I definitely think you can learn about yourself in porn, like through porn or through any kind of art, really, art or performance. But it does help to have a decent amount of sexual experience before you go into it, so you aren't making those realizations when the stakes are higher.
What are some of your favorite scenes that you've done?
I got to do a Slade scene with Valentina Nappi, who is just one of the coolest people, so down to earth, so awesome, really fun to be around.
So
and we
dry.
Got so dry.
And says exactly what she thinks.
I love her so much. I wish I could hang out with her more. I want her to be my friend. We got to do a scene together where we're cat burglars invading this rich guy's house, and then we find something special that we get to use on each other in his safe. And there's this really fun part where I'm like cracking the safe with the technology on my iPhone as if. And that was so much fun. I had such a great time with that. I did that one for Slade. And then I also did another scene for Vixen. I did one for Deeper. And I love working with Deeper. I am a fetishist down to my core. I love kinky stuff. And I just love the Deeper team. That entire team is so awesome and fun to be around. And I got to do a really fun scene with Dante Cole where he is a writer and I am this kind of evil hotelier. I own this hotel that he's checked into in order to write his book. And then I give him some very devious inspiration while he's writing. So it was very fun.
So you said you're a theater nerd.
Yes.
So you have a theater background. So do you prefer shooting scenes that have acting incorporated?
I love doing scenes where acting is part of it, but it also doesn't have to be. I really just enjoy the entire process. I love having sex. That's why I'm in this industry first and foremost. I love having sex. I love experiencing other people's bodies. I love playing around with desire and all of those kinds of things. So I love getting the chance to act, but I also don't need it. I think there's a time and place for a really fun gonzo scene where we shake hands and we get to it. I am an equal opportunity person.
That's the great thing about porn. There's something for everybody.
I started doing photography, when I was in middle school. I would set up little tableaus and have my sister pose for them, and that was really fun. I started doing self-portraits when I was in high school, and I always had an interest in it, I think because I don't have the best memory. And what I love about photography is it captures a moment, it preserves a moment, and you can refer back to it. It's something that I find incredibly valuable in my life in general. And I just enjoy the art of making a beautiful photograph. I've always been drawn to that.
It's so weird that you said that, because that's always what I say. It's like you freeze a moment in time that will never, ever occur again. And I also have like an obsession with time.
Do you?
And like the passing of time. I have because I have a great fear of death, and which we don't have to get into all that depressing shit.
No, we can get into it. I mean, I find people who are afraid of death so fascinating because of course, I don't want to die anytime soon. And I really enjoy being alive, but I also am glad that I'm not going to live forever. I think immortality is for the weak, honestly, because I think that it is only through death that we can truly appreciate a lot of what life gives to us. And so I'm afraid of the pain of dying for sure. And seeing someone else die would be truly horrible. Someone I know and love would just be truly horrible. And I know that grief will come eventually. But at the end of the day, I think that there is a relief and a stillness that comes from death that I don't think that there's anything to be afraid of in that way. But I'm curious, why are you scared of dying?
I just think, well, I agree with you. I don't want to be immortal either. The idea of like living forever seems exhausting,
No,
right?
thank you.
But I also don't want to die. Just the idea of non-existence is really, I think it's the fear. I think it ultimately comes down to the fear of the unknown, right? Like, how can I just not exist? How can like there just be nothing? You know what I mean? Like that.
How do you feel about space then?
I don't like it.
I had a feel. I think honestly, this is so
I don't like
interesting.
it at all.
This is so interesting to me because I think a lot of people who don't like that vastness, that unknowingness of death, also do not like space because it has a lot of similarities.
No,
So
never would never go to space.
I would go to space in a heartbeat. I would love to go to space.
Fuck that. Yeah. See, I think it's so weird because I actually was going through my old podcast and I was like kind of re-editing some reels and I came across a podcast I did with Mia Malkova and we had a long talk about this, about death. And this was actually, I was talking about my dad and how his health was failing. And this is before he died. And he died like a couple of years ago. And so it was kind of weird to watch it now, like on the other side of that experience.
Yes.
And I had just talked to him about dying when I did that podcast with her. And I had asked him if he was afraid to die because I knew like it was coming. And he told me that he wasn't afraid of dying and that he felt that, you know, his life was like this small blip on, you know, the vast, you know, on the vast like line of eternity. And like that brought him comfort that like he was just a speck of dust in the universe, which I was like, how is that comforting to you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I also find it very comforting, the idea of just not existing anymore.
Yeah.
I
think you and him were like aligned in that in a lot of ways.
But again, this is all just a thought experiment for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when it comes time, who knows how I'll feel.
Right. I mean, I remember when my grandmother was at the end of her life, like she couldn't wait to die. You know, and she would say every morning she would wake up and she'd be like, I can't believe I'm still alive.
Oh my gosh, yes, Grandma.
She would just be so bummed. She'd be like,
alive again.
I know. She was like, come on. I mean, she had like all of her mental faculties. Like she, you know, she just like her body was failing her and she just hated that. And she also like, you know, her husband had died and she just was ready to go. And she actually had a wonderful death. She like woke up in the morning. She went down to like the river. She lives in South Africa, like watched the kids play. I have a huge family over there. Had like her watered down half whiskey at noon, went to take a nap and died.
Wow.
Great way to go out,
That's
right?
a great way to go
Yeah.
out. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah, anyways, so I've had this like obsession with time because like every time I go to bed, I think about like, that's another day that's like been stolen from me.
Stolen from you?
and like how, like, what did I achieve today? You know, like how was today, like, did I do something that was worthwhile today? Like what?
Is it a sense of like value? There's like a sense of self-value that if you weren't productive that day, like you don't feel as valuable?
Yeah, I think so too. I have like
that.
an obsession with productivity as well.
Those are tied for sure.
Yeah. So anyways, therapist, let me tell you what else is wrong with me.
Yeah, you know, what else do you need to unload?
Do you have a couch I can lay down on?
My lap? My lap's available.
Anyway, sorry, we should probably get back to talking about you. I don't know. I feel like most people are here for that. Okay, so you've posed naked on a lot of icebergs.
I have posed on many an iceberg.
And you've even taught photography workshops in Iceland and become known for these like daring iceberg shots. You said that the first Iceland trip was pretty rough. What drives you to commit such extreme shoots and why did you go back and do it 7 more times?
It is amazing that I went 7 more times because my very first time I went with my partner, who's an amazing photographer, her name is Corwin Prescott, who I was teaching the workshops with. And we went first as a scouting trip, of course, because we wouldn't go without knowing the place.
Yeah.
And I had poison ivy all over half of my body.
No.
Half of my entire body was covered in poison ivy.
Did you get it in Iceland?
No, I had done a photo shoot in upstate New York about 3 or 4 days prior to us leaving, and I had it all over my face, this side of my body, my arm, my leg. It was horrible. So I had intense poison ivy, and we get there, and I don't know if you've ever been to Iceland.
Mm-mm.
Almost all of the flights from the US land at like 7 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just have to stay awake long enough so that you don't get completely fucked with jet lag.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm tired. I'm covered in poison ivy. And we decided to...
When did the poison ivy start to manifest itself?
Immediately.
I know it takes... Because my husband is poison ivy. I know poison ivy and poison oak, they're different.
They are different. They are similar. My skin will react. It actually might have been poison oak. I can't actually remember now. This was quite a few years ago. But they will react very similarly. Mm-hmm. And this was on the East Coast. And my skin is intensely sensitive to it. And I think it was made worse because I shot in upstate New York, and I think my clothes had been sitting on some of the stuff, and I didn't realize, and the oil got onto my clothes. Yeah. And then I put my clothes on, got dressed, and then I drove back to Philly, where I was living at the time, and I hadn't changed or showered or anything, so that oil was just sitting on my skin. And it started with an itch right here on my torso. And I was like, oh, I must have gotten a bug bite or something. And then it just expanded. This is also, mind you, a day before my birthday. Oh. So on the day of my actual birthday, I got to be covered in calamine lotion in Asbury Park, New Jersey, where we decided to go and visit friends. And I am just dying of itchiness. It is so horrible. And then a few days later, we go to Iceland. And we land in Iceland. We had rented this car called a Skoda.
Are you just at the airport, like, covered in calamine lotion?
Thankfully, there's clear calamine lotion. There is that. So I did not look like I had a horrible disease going into a foreign country. Believe me, this was something that I had worried about. And got in just fine, not a big deal. It was starting to resolve by then. Mm-hmm. I at least had all the things that I needed. Mm-hmm. But when we landed, we rented this vehicle called a Skoda, which I've never heard of before, and it's kind of a hatchback. And we're like, oh, we'll sleep in the car. Because we've slept in the car a ton when we've traveled around the U.S., and it's never been a problem. Well, sometimes it's been a problem. Most of the time it hasn't been a problem. But this did not lay perfectly flat when you put the seats back. And so the back of it is literally tilted up like this, and we're attempting to sleep on this tilted thing.
That would go crazy.
And I'm covered in poison ivy. We are not sleeping well at all. And we still got some of the most beautiful photos of my life.
Wow.
Because Iceland is that beautiful. It was completely worth it. We did have to do a decent amount of Photoshop on one side of my body. Thankfully, I just did a lot of posing on this side and tried to minimize showing this side, but it was absolutely worth it. And the fact that I could have all of those things kind of not go right and still want to go back speaks to the magic of the place, which if you haven't seen it, you should really go if you're able to, because there's nowhere else like Iceland.
Yeah,
This is sponsored by Iceland Air.
I know, right? It'll be on my bucket list when I finally get to travel again.
Yeah, do you take vacations? Have you thought about that?
I mean, the problem is with a kid, it's hard to go that far. Like, she's not going to sit on a plane for 4 hours. For 4 hours.
I was like, way more than 4 hours.
Yeah, way more than 4 hours. The longest I've taken her is like 2 hours to Cabo.
Okay, yeah.
But the poison ivy, just quick aside about the poison ivy thing. So this is like some people are actually immune to poison ivy?
Yes.
I'm one of those people.
Oh, you're so lucky.
I know, it was crazy.
You're so lucky.
So my husband got it, and he had never had it before. And same thing, he thought it was a bug bite. And he thought it was fleas. He thought we had fleas. Oh. And I remember like coming home, like that, diatomaceous earth?
Yeah.
It's like that white powder. I remember coming home and he had covered the entire house in diatomaceous earth. Like it was all over the couches. It was all over the rugs. It was everywhere. And I was like, it looks like someone had like a crazy cocaine party. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? He's like, we have fleas. I'm like, we don't have fleas. I'm like, look, I don't have anything. And then when it started to get worse, and then we put 2 and 2 together that he had poison oak. And yeah, it was pretty brutal.
It's really gnarly.
Yeah.
Do not recommend. I've had it multiple times in my life, and I really don't recommend it.
Yeah. Oh, God. So these workshops, are you still doing anything like that?
We aren't currently doing workshops like that. The fact is that with prices having gone up, it's really hard to do those kinds of destination workshops right now. We have been teaching them in the Pacific Northwest because that's where we live. And also there's so many amazing places, especially on the Olympic Peninsula, which Olympic National Park, if you haven't been there, it is the only rainforest in the lower 48, and it is so beautiful. Giant ferns, moss everywhere, things just dripping from the trees, and of course, all of the Twilight related stuff.
I was just going to say, I was like, should I admit that I always think of Twilight when I think of
I think a lot of people
so
think of Twilight. There's literally Bella's truck. You can go and see Bella's truck.
Really?
One of our workshop attendees last time we did one was really into Twilight, and she was like, oh, can we go see the truck? Can we go to this place? It was actually very fun. There's, they have those fire warning signs in some of the national parks where it goes from like red, like green, yellow, red,
yes.
and it's the warning. So there's one that's like vampire risk level, and then they adjust it.
That's cute.
It's very fun, I think, at this point. And I support people going there and supporting the local economy there.
What's it like having a partner as a photographer? I mean, you guys do a lot of shoots, like destination shoots, right?
Honestly, it's the best. I'm so lucky that I get to constantly create with someone as talented and hardworking as he is. And I know that that is something that not everyone has, and I do not take it for granted ever. I am incredibly, incredibly lucky that we get to create.
Do you have a hard time ever going on vacation and just like not shooting?
Yes.
Yeah, I would
Yes.
too.
All vacations have to have some kind of business related thing that happens.
You could write it off.
That's exactly why I do it. And I'm just a slut and I like doing stuff.
How is your relationship handle you like doing adult work?
I've been doing this work for a really long time. I've also been with my partner for a very long time. He and I have done erotic and explicit work for almost our entire relationship. And so he has been kind of comfortable with it the whole time. He's also mostly shot nudes. And so he's very comfortable with the nude body. And I think a lot of people's partners have problems with this work because they don't understand it and they aren't aware of it. I know a lot of my stripper friends also run into this where their partners haven't really been to strip clubs or things like that. And they just don't know what the actual reality is. And because my partner is so involved in nude photography, he's also performed as well. Like he is kind of involved in almost every aspect of it that you can be. And he knows that just because you're doing this work-related thing with someone, it does not mean that there's anything else beyond work with that person. There can be, if you want there to be. I always recommend that if you're interested in someone, make sure the camera and the videography is off before you pursue something. Don't get messed up with that. If you want to go on a date with someone, ask them, do it separately from any industry-related stuff. But he is just one of the kindest and best people that I know. And if conflict does come up, we just talk about it and we resolve it as best we can because we're teammates. We are a team. I could not have the life that I have without him. I don't have a one-person life. I have a two-person life, and he's an essential part of it.
Let's be honest. Confidence is everything, especially in the bedroom. And sometimes it helps to have a little backup plan. This is where Blue Chew comes in. Blue Chew is an online service that delivers chewable tablets with the same active ingredients used in some of the most common erectile dysfunction medications, but in a convenient, chewable form, and it's all prescribed online by licensed medical providers. And everything's handled discreetly. There's no awkward waiting rooms, no pharmacy pickups where you're hoping people don't know why you're there. You just consult online, you get approved, and it's shipped right to your door in plain packaging. So make your life easier by getting harder and discover your options at bluechew.com. And of course, I have a special deal for my listeners only. Try your first month for free when you use promo code Holly. Just pay $5 in shipping. That's promo code Holly. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And thank you to Blue Chew for sponsoring the show. So, from a viewer's standpoint, many men watching porn might compare themselves to what they see. What's your message to male fans around body image, performance anxiety, or the pressure to measure up? I think we both know that we're talking about like the penis envy, penis size fear that most men have.
Yeah. First of all, I always like to say this. Porn is a fantasy, and also camera angles are real. So yes, a lot of people in porn have really big dicks, but also there's something to be said for when you are using a wide angle lens, especially if you're performing with like a female person who's really tiny, the dick is going to look even bigger. A wide angle lens and a tiny little body are going to make a huge difference. So you have to take everything that you see in porn with a grain of salt. You have to think critically about the media that you're ingesting, and that includes porn. And I would say to all those people out there, stress and anxiety is normal. Sex can be really stressful, whether it's on camera or not. And I think the best thing that you can do for yourself is to pay attention to your partner, to the person that you're doing things with. That is how you're going to be a great lover and give someone a great experience. Pay attention to how they're reacting to stuff that they're doing, and take your skill level seriously. Level up those skills. I want to see you leveling up your conolingus skills. I want to see you leveling up your foreplay skills. Have more going on than just worrying about your dick, because there's so many other things besides just P and V that you can utilize, and that you can not only have a great time for yourself, but also have a great time with the other person.
Yeah, I think so many men forget about the foreplay, because the problem is that a lot of men get their sex education, unfortunately, from porn. And porn, as you said, is a fantasy. And also, like, it has a time limit and an attention span of the viewer that it has to pay attention to, right? So it's not going to do a long, drawn-out foreplay, because most people are going to fast forward through that, right? So generally, it's like the girl's wet and the sex happens right away. Like, newsflash is not wet. We probably use lube. So,
lube is being used, and lube and toys are your friend.
Yes. So yeah, guys think that they just like need to have that big dick and that's what's going to get them there. But like women, like we need that foreplay to like get us to open up and to start. And I think you're right. They miss that like crucial, essential beginning moment where like women, you know, the attention and the like the feeling of being wanted and needed, and like that's such a crucial element that I feel like is just kind of swept aside.
So much of desire is in the mind, and you need to be engaging her mind before you're engaging with her body. And there are so many people that I've been with where I wouldn't have necessarily been like, oh, that person's so hot, but there's something else about them with the way they interact with me or touch me or the pheromones of it all that I'm like, okay, I am here, I am in it, which is also why I think it can be hard using dating apps or hookup apps, because you lose that in-person sense, and that in-person sense is so important.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, like confidence is a big thing.
Yes.
What's like the one trait in guys that you really look for, or maybe like
passion.
One or two? Passion.
The thing I look for in all of my partners is passion. I want someone to nerd out about something. I want them to have desire and excitement. That excitement translates from person to person. And if I meet someone who's really into something and really excited, that makes me feel more excited about the topic and about them. So it's not just about physical skills, it's about being a more interesting person. You are going to make yourself more attractive if you are interesting and you have more things to talk about and share.
So it's like that old work on yourself and then more people will come. Build it
Yep.
and they will come.
Build it and they shall come, and you shall come.
Good one. I want to go back to your fine art photography because these cards were out of order.
Oh, whoops.
So we jumped around a little bit. Okay. So you said that you've experimented with your body and sexuality your entire adult life, and that porn is a natural extension of that exploration. Can you explain what that means?
So I've always been a very experimental person. I've always been drawn to new experiences, to novelty, to new sensations. Even when I was a teenager, I was always seeking darker or different things. It's always been something that I've been interested in. And I've been comfortable in my body and my sexuality for most of my life. Not that I haven't had insecurities, of course, but I've always been interested in sex and interested in bodies. And so I started nude modeling. I was doing implied nudes when I was 17. And then when I was 18, I started doing nudes and just felt really comfortable with it. And I loved the experience of being an artist's muse, being part of the larger history of nude art. And it just was already an interest of mine. And then it was also a way that I could make money, because when I graduated, there were not a lot of jobs lined up and I was really burned out on my major. And so being able to travel the world, travel the country, and get to meet people that I wouldn't otherwise get to meet was so exciting for me. And I got to create beautiful images with people. So I have always had an interest in being naked, being experimental, and through modeling and eventually through videography and going into mainstream, they've all kind of just organically flowed together in a really beautiful way.
When you're on a shoot, especially nude or erotic, do you ever feel vulnerable? And how do you manage that vulnerability mentally, emotionally, physically, so that you can stay present and competent?
I haven't found it a problem to stand my ground when things come up. And I've always been a kind of forceful personality. And so I never felt really vulnerable, partially because I always made sure someone knows where I am. I really try to vet people before I shoot with them, asking for references for photo shoots or for scenes, that kind of thing. So I have come up with a lot of systems to make sure that I'm safe. But I also think a huge component of it is being involved in the community and listening to what the community is saying about different people, whether that was being on Model Mayhem forums or talking with other models or other photographers. Getting the experience from everyone will make you, it's not an infallible system, but it can make you feel more comfortable. And you'll also just know what the standards are. Mm-hmm. Talking to models who are older than you or performers who have more experience, like I did with Casey, will empower you to be able to stand your ground or to push back on things. And so I have been lucky to have a lot of support system and a forceful personality that has made me not feel as vulnerable in situations that might make other people feel vulnerable. Also, I don't feel vulnerable when I'm naked. That's not the times when I feel most vulnerable. You can be vulnerable fully dressed, and I just don't navigate the world with that fear necessarily when I'm naked.
I guess it's different for everybody, right? Like for you, it's a self-expression, and obviously it's something that you love doing. I mean, the people that feel the most free when they're naked are definitely the people who are probably meant to be here.
I truly feel that I am doing what I'm meant to be doing. It feels very, that's why I keep going back to that word organic. I feel like this has been a very natural and organic progression of both who I am as a person and my interests and where the monetary compensation is.
I want to ask you some personal questions about you yourself. What do you think is your best characteristic and your worst characteristic?
I think my best characteristic is my decisiveness. I am definitely able to make choices quickly. And I think my weakest trait is problem solving, which when I get stressed, my ability to solve a problem will short circuit. And I have learned to hack that part of my life by having people around me who are better at problem solving, who I trust, who I can go to, who will help me.
That's interesting because they're almost kind of the same thing, sort of.
They are so related. And usually when people are decisive, that they are good at solving problems. But I am definitely someone who goes by intuition a lot of times. And I have a pretty strong sense of things. I also navigate the world as if I can do everything or anything, which has come back to bite me many a time. But it's also allowed me to do things that I wouldn't have been able to otherwise. So I think that decisiveness has been a boon to me in a lot of ways.
Are you one of those people that believe that, like, if you learn from something, that there's no real thing as mistakes, it's just experiences?
No. There are such things as mistakes. They exist. I have made them. Certainly. Am I more knowledgeable for having made a mistake? Yes. Do I relish and accept making mistakes? Absolutely not. I would prefer not to make them at all, but I am human and I'm slowly learning to accept that I will make them.
What is a trait that you deplore the most in others, and what is a trait that you cherish the most in others?
There are two traits that I really deplore in other people. One is more judgmental than the other. I really don't like people who have big egos. I really don't think that serves anyone. I don't care how established you are. There's really no need to have a big ego, especially if you're trying to gatekeep. There's really no need for that. I'm a big fan of the rising tide lifts all ships way of navigating my life. And the more judgmental one is that I don't like when people are lazy. I really need to be surrounded by people who are being active in their lives, and I don't want people to be passively going through their lives. But that's also not my call. And what I see as laziness might just be someone resting or recharging, which is why I'm saying it's kind of judgmental, because that's a very subjective thing to apply to people.
Yeah.
But the trait that I would say is the most important to me is kindness. Hands down, in every interaction, I think that there is a need for kindness, and we could be getting better as people and society if we just were a little kinder and thought a little bit more about other people.
Do you think society is becoming kinder or less so?
I do not think that our current society is set up to celebrate kindness. I think our current society is set up to celebrate individualistic, capitalistic drive. And kindness does not play well with being cutthroat. And I think that we've been told for a long time that succeeding by any means possible is the goal, without thinking about how that affects us and everyone else in a larger sense. So I would love to see us become a more kind people in general. I don't see it happening anytime soon, but I would really like to believe it.
Yeah. I'm with you on that one. All right. So I want to ask you about your project, 50 Models, 50 States, and that crazy trampoline store.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So let me set the scene. I was working on 50 Models, 50 States, which was a project that I did with my partner. And we were going to photograph a model in every single state, including Alaska and Hawaii. And we're going around the country, sleeping in our car, reaching out to people. And we get to Alabama. And one of our friends lives in Birmingham, and she invited us over. And we had been seeing Birmingham all day. She takes us back to her house. And there is in the backyard this giant plastic-wrapped monstrosity of a trampoline. And I love trampolines. They are one of the highlights of my childhood, is jumping on a trampoline. There is just such a source of joy in them.
No, I have to ask you, are you of the age that when you jumped on the trampoline, was there like a netting around the side? There was not. Okay.
When I was growing up, there was absolutely no safety precautions on a trampoline. It was just raw dog in the sides.
People were breaking their arms, their legs.
Absolutely. And so I was not used to seeing one with this entire structure all around it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that would be so fun to go on the trampoline. And we're hanging out with my friend and she's like, oh, do you want to smoke a little bit? And I haven't, at that time, I hadn't smoked in 10 years. It was something that I did with my friends a couple times. I was not a drug person growing up. I was having sex with my boyfriend and reading nerdy, smutty books in my house. Mm-hmm. I was a nerd through and through. But I was like, you know what? Yes, I want to smoke a little bit. It's going to be really fun. We're having a great time. And our dog was with us. And so he had never seen a trampoline before and was freaking out. He's running around, he's jumping in the trampoline and off the trampoline and yelling at us and just being the little referee that he likes to be because he was really not enjoying us being on this trampoline. But I'm jumping higher and higher. We're all on the trampoline. There's 5 of us. We're jumping. And I start to feel something strange. And I look down and I realize that I had been laughing and giggling and jumping for so long that I was literally pissing myself. I literally was having so much fun that I just peed and soaked my underwear, had to go inside, beg for some pants, beg for some fresh undies so that I had something to change into because I was having that much fun on this trampoline.
So wait, did you not feel that you had to go to the bathroom?
Not at all. I could not tell at all. I was high as fuck. We were jumping around. I was not paying any attention to that. I was paying attention to my dog and how good it felt to try to get as big of a jump as possible. And it just
I got to tell you, after I had a kid, I do not get on a trampoline without going to the bathroom first.
Oh.
Just to be safe.
This is smart.
I've done a lot of pelvic floor exercises since then, but it's just, you never know.
That's very wise.
Yes.
That's very wise.
Yes.
I'll just wear a diaper, I guess.
Hey, you know what? Someone out there might pay a lot of money for that kind of custom.
Yeah, if you want me to jump on a trampoline till I pee, I think I could get there.
So lastly, what's next for Nicole Vaunt? Are there any upcoming projects or goals, whether in modeling, porn photography, or even another field? Anything you're excited about? Anything that you can tease for us, or just anything you want to achieve by the end of the year?
I would really like to work with more porn companies. I love shooting porn. I love to be involved in this industry. I'd love to work with Brazzers, who I've never worked with. I would love to work with Elegant Angel. I'm just ready to be on people's sets. I want to be out there working and making a set better. So that's a huge thing. And I definitely want to do more cosplay related stuff. If anyone has cosplay ideas, nerdy stuff, I'm here for that. I would like to get better at playing D&D specifically and coming up with more costumes and ideas for that. And then this is kind of a secret thing that I haven't really talked about, but I just started learning how to do silversmithing. And so I've been learning how to make rings and bolos, and I will be sharing some of that journey as I do it.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Well, Nicole, thank you so much for coming on. Can you let everybody know where they can find you online, please?
I'm Nicole Vaunt. You can find me everywhere online on the name Vauntastic. That's Vauntastic. I'm on OnlyFans. I would love if you would come and join me there. I have so much fun being my slutty little self over there. I'm also on Instagram and I am on Twitter, aka X. I am on there everywhere. Please come and find me. Come join me. Bring your passion. Bring your nerddom. I want to hear about it. And the only other thing that I would have to say is that if you love artistic photography, if you love art nudes, I highly recommend checking out Into the Wild by Corwin Prescott, which is a 15-year anthology of his work of art nudes all over the world. It's a 9-pound beautiful book that we have worked so hard on, and you can find it on CorwinPrescott.com store.
And you guys can find me on Instagram and on X at Holly Randall. Go to hollylinks.com for access to all of my links. And of course, if you want to watch these podcasts live, get access to bonus content like the Q&A that we're about to do, go to patreon.com/Holly Randall Unfiltered. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you guys next week.